Good evening. Welcome to our meeting tonight. And before we start our meeting, we're going to have the invocation, and my minister, Mr. Eddie Ewell, is going to do that for us.
All right, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this day that you have made. Help us to use it in a way that would honor you with both our words and our actions. Father, we pray that you'll bless our leaders in this room with a humble spirit, that we will seek your guidance and your wisdom to lead the communities in such a way that you would be pleased. Father, we trust that you will guide our commissioners with integrity and a heart that's passionate for whatever is best for this community. Father, we thank you for the love that you've shown us, and Father, we just pray that your blessings will be upon us. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Eddie. At this time, I'll call our monthly meeting to order. I'll ask that you stand, and Commissioner Walker will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please face the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is conflict of interest disclosure. Is there any commissioner that has a item they want to disclose?
Mr. Chairman, I ask you the same question that I've asked you at the last several meetings. Have you had any conversations involving county business? Have you made decisions for this board during that last week? Are there things that you need to report to us?
No comment.
I take that as a yes answer. That means you ethically are in violation of this board's rules.
That's been explained earlier. Okay, we're down to the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda, raise your right hand. All right, we're down to items for presentation. Dolores?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We have 2 employees attending tonight to receive their service awards. We have Kimberly Spencer with 5 years of service with the Department of Social Services. Congratulations. Next, we have Faye Brown with 25 years of service with the Tax Administrator's Office.
Did you want her to turn on?
I'd also like to acknowledge some other employees who are not here tonight. Heather Brown with 5 years of service with the Department of Social Services. Ventura Brown with 10 years of service with the Department of Social Services. Brandon Hayes with 25 years of service with planning and inspections. And then John Lohman with 10 years of service with the Sheriff's Office. So congratulations to those folks as well.
Thank you, Dolores. We're down to the public comments. The first person is Jason. And I don't see him. Okay, Mike. Ashley.
Gentlemen.
I come before you today on an issue that I'm seeing not one citizen in this county supports, and that's this proposed mega site boondoggle for waste management. It's very rare in today's political environment that this is not a Republican or a Democratic issue. It's about all the residents of Beaufort County. I'm here to not only speak on behalf of myself, but the thousands here that don't believe that their voice matters to you. As you all know, we currently pay a line item on our property taxes for waste management. Our current convenience sites are what the people want to keep. After making this information available on April 16th, this proposal went viral on social media and not popular one bit. And another thing that was very disturbing is 99% of the citizens did not even know this was under consideration until the middle of April, myself included. So I have to conclude that this has been done behind closed doors and only came to light last month. This is a total disservice to the people of Beaufort County who pay taxes for services like our local convenience centers. As you all know, Beaufort County is the 5th largest geographical county as far as total area, and added to the fact that the river divides this county. Folks have absolutely no desire to drive one end of the county to the other just to dump their household trash. It's insane. Now, since this has been made public on social media, one of the first responses I saw from a county official was some of the convenience sites will be kept open on a quote-unquote intermittent basis. First of all, I don't believe that. I've been around this game long enough to know that this provides political cover for a very bad idea. After the mega sites are completed, one or two may be open sporadically until about after 12 months, they're open, they'll just be quietly shut down. Also, none of you sitting here today will be commissioners forever. You can't guarantee that they'll stay open because you can't control what your successors may or may not do. And the bureaucrats advising on this disaster won't be employees here forever either. This isn't Raleigh or Charlotte, but Beaufort County, founded in 1712. Part of the charm of living in this remarkable God-given plot of dirt is all our understandings at a basic level. So many times less is more. This is just another example of backroom behind closed-door power brokering for the benefit of a few. The county currently sits on a record fund balance, yet this leadership believes that digital ones and zeros in the county bank account represents true wealth instead of the personal liberties and freedoms which this county was founded upon. Instead of returning this hoarded cash to the right people, the taxpayers, once again you try to fix a problem that's not broken to the peril of people paying the bills. There will be severe ramifications if this disaster is allowed. You will see more dumping of trash on local highways and property. We don't have to meet it any more than we already have. And it will go by leaps and bounds if we do this, there's no doubt. I urge you to reconsider this action. I don't mind the smell of my local dump, but I sure as heck don't like the smell of this backroom deal. Just remember, our trash is not the county's cash. Thank you.
Travis?
Commissioners, my name is Travis Martin. I live in Blunt's Creek, vote in the Edward District. I attended school in Aurora for 12 years, and I strongly support keeping S.W. Snowden School open. Transportation costs alone should be reason enough to keep the school open. Also, excluding Charles Hickman and Stacy Davis, our Beaufort County elected school board members have shown no empathy for the young children that attend S.W. Snowden School. If the school in Aurora should close, these young children will have to take long extended bus rides that will cause decreased academic performance, absenteeism, and fatigue. It looks like the answer to poor leadership is to close the school. At the public meeting in Aurora, we heard Commissioners Hood Richardson, Stan Deffridge, and Tandy Dunn all speak, voicing their opposition to closing S.W. Snowden School, and mentioned that funds could be allocated to keep the school open. What I did not hear was Commissioners Ed Booth, Frankie Waters, Jerry Langley, or Randy Walker speak in any capacity showing support for S.W. Snowden School, or Aurora, Edward, and Blunt's Creek all have great voting citizens that does not want the school in Aurora to close. What I want is for our unspoken commissioners to show transparency and communicate their faults concerning S.W. Snowden School, and for all our commissioners to come together, make the right decision, and allocate the funds to keep S.W. Snowden School open, and eliminate the undue stress that these young children and their parents would have to face. Commissioners, let's make S.W. Snowden School a success story. And we, the people, will hold our elected leaders accountable. Again, my name is Travis Martin. Thank you.
Shirley?
My name's Shirley Green. I live in Beaufort County. This is the first time I've been to one of these meetings, but I wanted to come and express my thoughts on the landfills, the convenience sites, and I have some questions. Please explain in detail if and why the small landfills are too expensive to keep open. Number two, have you asked the public, have you gone to these places and talked to the public and asked them, do you want this mega site, 2 mega sites, 1, I don't know, to be built? How do you feel about it? How many of the current convenience sites are you planning to keep open, if any? The public wants to know what's going on, what's going to happen. Are they going to have to drive halfway across the county to take their trash? And I can tell you right now, out of 100 people, most of those people I asked, would you take, go however many miles to take your trash? No. We will burn it, we will put it on the side of the road, or we'll leave it in the woods. Don't our highways have enough trash on them now? And I wasn't living here at this time, but I've heard that this county had a problem with trash before you had the convenience sites. You don't want to go back in time and have to clean up all the roads, I don't think. But most of all, since I work at one of the convenience sites, I don't want to lose my job. I love working there. I love talking to the people, hearing what they have to say, being nice to them, making them feel important. So I'm suggesting that you don't close the convenience sites, at least until you go and talk more to the public in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Earl?
My name is Earl Carney, and I am a resident of Beaufort County. I live in Bellhaven, and I'm here tonight to oppose closing these solid waste collection sites and consolidating them into 2. That's the rumor that I've heard. Now, thank you. But for those of us that utilize the sites that we presently have, they're extremely convenient. You can take your bags of garbage, you can take your leaves, you can take whatever. But the thing that I find interesting, in management, there are 5 principles of management: organizing, staffing, influencing, and controlling. Now, what in the world ever manifested the idea of consolidation? Now, I share the view, it's not based on any fact, but I'm just like the first gentleman that got up and spoke. This stinks. It stinks from the standpoint of perception, the perception that I have somebody somewhere is manipulating this, and it's not the voters. If you want to do this, then put it up in a general election, put it on a ballot and let us. That's democracy, when everyone gets to vote. This is a republic, and we have representatives in a Republican form of government. But this issue stinks, folks, and it stinks to high heaven. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you. Bruce?
Hello, everybody. It's been a while since I've been up. But I've been at this for a while now, as you all know. In fact, turning in this human trafficking ring for 12 years now. Not one has been caught and brought to justice. I've turned them in for many of them for raping people, murdering people. Nothing done to any of them. Thank the good Lord. He blesses me and my child every day. He was the one that was able to for me to get my child out of it, that human trafficking ring, and keep her out of it from the people in child protection services who knowingly put children in child trafficking here. Thank the good Lord. And again, he's blessed us again. Just this year, he has sent us Daryl Ainge, and he is now the head person in the Human Trafficking Division, Eastern Human Trafficking. He had to leave here because of the corruption here. With Nelson Shepard and A.G. Swanner, the same people I've been saying that head up this, they're dead, but there's so many, it's gotten so much bigger than them now. And come to find out, everybody here has known about it. You all, everybody has known. But again, if you keep asking, keep praying, the good Lord does come through. At the first of this, you all know, they started threatening to kill me when my child was only 6. Russell Davenport, Mike Holloman, and David Richards were the first 3 to come and threaten me. Russell Davenport said he knew all about them. I was not to be turning them in and keep my nose out of it. So I went to the SBI, Walter Brown of the SBI. Mr. Brown told me I had to write Seth Edwards a letter to get an investigation going. I wrote Seth Edwards a letter. While he was in the process of me going to get my title for a home that I paid for, he took my home. Him, Watsy Sutton, and Renee Singleton took my home, and he told me it's been going on for more than 20 years and you aren't going to stop it. Next. My child was raped at 10 years old by her mother and a man in this. They still haven't done anything to them. In the investigation, the investigating officer, Brad Shackelford, said that it's only prostitution. The investigating officer. Then, after that, he gets Chris Webster, a heroin dealer I was turning in this ring also, to say that to get my child taken by DSS.
3 minutes is up. I'll give you 1 more minute.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much.
1 more minute.
Thank you. I'll wind this up. As you see, there's many officials here that are involved in this. And here, in fact, Russell Davenport gets caught with an underage girl, has to resign and pay the man $50,000, and you all celebrating a pedophile. We are going to get help. Thank the good Lord. Y'all have a great day.
Noah?
Good afternoon. My name is Noah Modlin. I'm from the Bellhaven area, and I've got 2 points that I want to make tonight. One of them has already happened. I know there's nothing we can do to change the past. However, I do want to bring it up, and I am bringing it up in this meeting because it took me so long to get here because I do have to work and pay the taxes that y'all levy on us. First off, I want to talk about the 4 acres that was purchased for the new school right up here in Washington. Looked through, saw where y'all paid $500,000 for the 4 acres of land for this new school. Now, the problem I have with that is not that we're building a new school, not that we're buying land to build a new school on, it's the fact that you grossly overpaid with county money for that land. If you go through on the GIS map, you can see where the parcels that are being selected to use for the reevaluation are highlighted. So I picked the closest 3. The first one is a 3.8 acre parcel, which does have a house and several buildings on it. That was appraised value coming in at $309,158. The other two were much smaller parcels, but one being right at 3/10 of an acre, the other one being right at 2/10 of an acre. But I did take off the house values, the building values that were given, just by the land values, doing some simple math, figured out what that would be if you valued 4 acres at that same value. The first one came to $287,106, and the third came to $366,860. So I only want to know why we paid $500,000 for 4 acres of land. I did go back and look at the minutes from that meeting, and y'all did say that the county was paying for $250,000 of it, and the school board was paying for $250,000 of it. However, school board, last I checked, is part of Beaufort County, and they do get their money from the county, so the taxpayers of Beaufort County pay $500,000 for 4 acres of land. That is grossly overvalued and, quite frankly, a waste of money, in my opinion. That school is only going to benefit the people of Washington. That brings me into my next point. This right here is printout from the county website that lists the address, that provides the addresses you all have listed. 6 of the 7 of you have addresses listed in Washington. Those of us on the outlying areas of the county feel as though we have absolutely no representation in this county. Because of the at-large voting system, most of the representatives here tonight are from Washington, and they vote for Washington, in what I've seen. And that does lead us into the issue with the convenience sites, with the trash dumps and everything in this county. Planning on building 2 mega sites, from what I understand, because I can't look at the meetings, the minutes, or the agenda from that meeting on the county website. It will not pull them up.
I'll give you another minute.
Thank you. It won't pull them up. So what I've been told was that the plan is to build 2 mega sites in this county and close most of the convenience centers. Okay, what I've been hearing, this is all, like I say, this is all hearsay. I can't get any actual information on anything from the county website. But what I've been hearing is that one is going to be close to Washington, one's going to be close to Chalkawinity, north side, south side of the river. Okay, that puts Washington and Chalkawinity at an advantage, mostly Washington, and basically gives us nothing in the northeastern end of the county. I do have a problem with that because I just want to know, what are y'all going to do to stop illegal dumping, especially private businesses that have dumpsters, that they pay for those dumpsters, that need the space in them to dispose of their own trash. How are you going to stop that? Are you going to up the sheriff's office to be able to arrest people that are illegally dumping and filling up our dumpsters? What are we going to do here? The second issue I have with that is that I was told, like I say, this is all hearsay, these 2 mega sites are going to cost $3 million a piece. And y'all are doing this allegedly in the name of saving money. Well, I'm no banker, I'm no accountant, I'm no mathematician, but I do know that the best way to save money is not spend $6 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is the legislative updates, and I do not see our senator or our House of Representative member. We're down to the items for consent. Are there any items that a commissioner would like to pull?
I'd like to pull item number 7, the audit, and item number 10, the budget amendment for the NC Grange.
7 and 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not for discussion, but to force a vote.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Entertain a motion to approve the remaining items, 14 different items.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the remaining 14 items, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay. Why don't we just go ahead and pull number 7, the audit contract.
The question I have on the audit is, how many years have these people been auditing us?
6.
Why?
Why?
The recommendations from all of the people are that we change auditors every 3 years at the most. So why are these people still doing the audit?
I'm not aware of that recommendation. When I was at the city, they had the same auditor for 20 years. I do think 20 years is probably a little bit too long. It is extremely difficult to find qualified audit firms now. I'm happy to bid it out and see what comes back, but I do believe the price will be much higher if we do that.
I don't have a problem, I don't have a problem with going forward with what we're doing this year, but I think next year it needs to be put out on bid.
I can put it out next year, I can put it out this year, but like I said, I do believe the price will be much higher. The audit firm gave us the same price that they did the last audit for, which I thought was pretty generous pricing with the way everything else is going up.
Well, the commissioners can look at it. Once it's put out on bid, we can compare the prices.
Okay?
We need to vote on this.
Yes. Need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion to,
Accept, I guess.
To accept what's in the consent agenda.
okay. Is there a second?
Yeah.
No, hold on there.
See, I pulled a consent agenda item.
Right.
So nobody has proposed that we do anything different.
I suppose we got on bids
This year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, since I'm the complainer, I'll second.
Okay.
To put it out on bid.
Bids this year.
Well, I have no problems with the existing one, and I think the price, if you put it out for bids, is going to be well above it, so.
I mean, quite often you guys pay more than you should for things. I don't see why you shouldn't try to get a better deal this time. How do you know it's going to be cheaper?
The sole reason,
Go out on bids.
the sole reason for changing auditors is that the auditors get accustomed and adjusted to, so does our staff. So when you change auditors, you have somebody that's taking a new look at the county situation. That's why you change auditors. I mean, if you want a rubber stamp, stay with them for 20 years. But you need to change auditors periodically just so somebody else is looking at what's going on and you get a different opinion. And 3 to 4 years is considered to be, a long time to stay with the same auditors. I'm not saying the ones we got are doing a bad job for that matter, but I know what good audit procedure is, and I know what the recommendations are. And we can go to the state government, to the treasurer's office, and see what they think.
Any other comment? Okay, all those in
Mr.
favor?
Chairman, I'll just mention that the state local government commission doesn't have a problem with going a 7th year with the same auditor. And you're right, a reason to change auditors would be if there's an independence issue with the auditor, which I don't believe we currently have. They are certified public accountants. They're out of the town of Whiteville. Most of them I wouldn't recognize if they walked through that door because we do much of our work through share filing, and they're not on site very often. And I can promise you there's not a CPA in the current firm that we're using for our audit that would put their license on the line to do me a favor or anybody else in the county. So I don't think independence is an issue with the current firm. But you're right, it would be a fresh set of eyes looking at our books if you think that's needed. That would be the only benefit.
That's always needed. I want to remind you that for 3 or 4 years ago, I kept asking for forensic audits for Chocowinity. And guess what happened? We needed them the whole time. But this board wasn't willing to do that. And since then, we've sent a signal that we're not going to do anything if you take a little bit of money. So we've got 2 fire departments that have had legal problems involving money simply because the commissioners didn't stand up. It's good practice. We simply need to do it for good practice. Not that there are any accusations of anything going on, but once people get the notice that you're watching, the problem goes away.
Anita, from the standpoint of the local government commission, what is the time frame? We have to have it within how many months after our year end?
It's always been due October 31st, 4 months after year end. They actually changed that because there were so many counties and municipalities that could not meet that deadline. It has been changed to December 31st.
Okay. All right, any other comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right, you want to go to,
Well, we still have to vote on this item because it was pulled from the consent agenda. It has not been considered.
Okay. you're right. All those in favor of,
Well, motion, I make a motion, we accept item 7 as it's written.
do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor of keeping the same auditor we had for another year, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right. Now we'll go to the next item that was pulled, number 10, the budget amendment for the North Carolina Grange Grant. You want to raise the question?
It's just a matter of principle to me as to whether you want to vote to keep this item as presented or not, which I don't think you can change it to anything else. But I had it pulled up because I'm against this, because we're taking a lot of public money and we're dumping it in useless places. It's a great example. North Carolina Doge should get a hold of this and put a stop to it.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the grant. It's a flow through of what is it, 3,000, Ann?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Opposed?
Okay. Those that are opposed. All right. We're down to items for decision on the emergency services. The first one is the Beaufort County Humane Society Spay and Neuter Initiative. Bringing everybody, aren't you, Chris?
Yeah, well, we got a couple tonight, so cut down the walking.
Oh, I got you. This is not just the first one.
No, this is all of them. I believe the first thing we have up is the Humane Society Initiative, if I'm correct. Okay, so this is a continuation of an initiative that we had once before this year. This was money that the Humane Society donated to the shelter for the purpose of spay and neutering as many dogs as possible. It initially started with $10,000, all right? $10,000, we were able to run through those pretty quickly. And since then, they have given another $5,000. It went to our donation line. What we're before you, or for you tonight, asking for your permission to pull $5,000 from our donation line and do another round of that Humane Society initiative. And I believe the budget amendment is attached to your agenda item. I have Chief Sawyer here for any questions.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any questions of Chris? All those.
How many dogs are going to fit underneath of this run?
It's $300 per dog is about what we're charging.
About $15, $16.
So we've done today with everything with Jasper's, the Spade one, and then the Humane Society, 167 dogs, which is amazing. And we're focusing mainly on the females.
Any other question? Yes.
Once you spend this money on those dogs, you put them up for adoption.
These are dogs that are in the public.
Okay, so you can just bring them in and do they contribute some money towards that $300?
They do not.
Okay.
No.
My arithmetic's not working, excuse me, but we've done 167 dogs for $10,000?
Well, no, we've had other donations.
Oh,
So,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Nothing leaves our shelter that's not spayed or neutered.
Okay.
Okay, I think Katie, we had a motion and a second. All right. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right. The next one is the RFP for disaster contracts for Beaufort County.
So EC's going to be discussing this with you. He's got a couple of initiatives related to mitigation and emergency management. I just want to provide kind of a quick landscape that we're seeing both at a federal and a state level. If you're following any of the news, You're seeing a lot of discussions about what the future of emergency management may look like in the U.S., both from the federal level, the state level, and then how those changes would impact us locally. So the landscape of emergency management is changing quickly. There's still a lot of unknowns. And what that looks like for us locally is kind of still up in the air. So in DC's presentation tonight, we're trying to lean forward on some things to make sure we're in a better position to be prepared for whatever emergencies we may face and not dependent on those changes or last-minute decisions as we move forward. So I just ask you to consider that whenever DC's running through his presentations.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present this. Our office continuously reflects on the lessons learned from the past events, including Hurricane Helene, and our ongoing commitment to emergency preparedness and community resilience. But like Director Newkirk said, let's be honest, what's the future going to look like with state and federal emergency management? So we have identified the needs to establish these specific pre-disaster contracts before disaster impacts our county. And everybody hears this, it's not if a disaster, but it's actually when. Establishing these contracts prior to an event is a proactive measure that enhances our ability to respond swiftly and efficiently during post-disaster recovery operations. Pre-disaster contracts will provide Beaufort County with the following benefits. It allows resources to mobilize faster by eliminating procurement and administrative delays. It prevents price gouging by contractually locking in a fair price in the advance of an event or incident while also providing a budget predictability during a disaster. It also ensures that the federal and state compliance for reimbursement during a declared disaster. Our recommended pre-disaster contracts include debris management and removal, debris monitoring, sanitation and hygiene services such as porta-johns, shower trailers, washer, dryer, and laundry services, potable water supply and distribution, which is water supply distribution and logistics filtration, emergency fuel and power, which is generator and emergency fuels, construction and infrastructure analysis and repair. This is both pre- and post-disaster analysis, as well as consultant services for economic recovery, consultant services for disaster reimbursement, such as technical assistance, damage assessment, and cost recovery. So these proactive steps designed are to strengthen our disaster response capabilities and expedite recovery efforts following a major event. But what does the way forward look like? You know, adapting higher standards will be more expensive, but keeping the same standards will increase the risk. Either way, there's a cost. Our office recommends the utilization of a 3-year contract term with renewal clause for 2 additional 1-year terms of service. As with past emergency contracts, our county will be only financially responsible for payments and when emergency services and support is requested. All contracts would comply with the FEMA 44 CFR Part 13-36, the executive orders, as well as the Equal Opportunity, EEO, and non-disclosure statements. The Office of Emergency Services respectfully requests your approval to proceed with the necessary RFP procedures to identify prospective services and providers for the pre-disaster contracts. I'll be glad to take any questions.
I have some problems with some of this. In the past, we have contracted for debris management and removal, debris monitoring, whatever that is, and consulting services for disaster reimbursement. That is how the county gets its money out of the government system. I don't have a problem with those. And I realize that when FEMA comes out with this stuff, it's broad-based. It's everything from the smallest community out there to a city. I can see where a city might need hygiene services, porta-johns, shower trailers, and things like that. But I don't see where Beaufort County needs that. I don't think we should be contracting for that because we're making a problem for ourselves when you have to go around the county and start setting this stuff up, and the sheriff has to start, policing it and all this sort of thing. I don't think we really need that. I have another problem with potable water supply. I can understand that if you're in an area where the water supply comes from a lake, a pond, a creek, a river, or whatever, but we have one of the best and safest and easy to restart water systems in the United States. You won't find one any better than what we have. And we haven't had any problems with water from these things in the past from the standpoint of emergency services. Yeah, there's been a pipeline washed out or something like that occasionally. But, I mean, that's something I don't think we need to be paying county money for or contracting for. You've got construction and infrastructure analysis and repair. We've got FEMA to do that. We've got the private homeowner. We've got insurance companies involved. I think you're creating a nightmare when you start having a consultant come in and giving people advice on construction and infrastructure analysis and repair. We've got a county engineer. She does a good job, stays on top of things. We have all sorts of alternatives. Consulting services for economic recovery. You know, in Beaufort County, you know, that's something else we don't need. I think if we contract for what we've been contracting for in the past, we're going to be on target. But I can't see making this thing bigger and more expensive because these 4 items are not going to provide us with any advantages. They're just going to provide with a bunch of expense and a lot more work for county departments and employees in Beaufort County. Now, if you were in the middle of Raleigh, North Carolina, or Charlotte, North Carolina, or New York City, maybe all of this stuff would be worthwhile for a disaster, but not in Beaufort County.
So during Helene, when they went through Swannanoa and it washed out all their water, so everything west of Helene, Asheville, all the little communities were all reliant on that one water line. It took 25 days for the potable water to come in, the filtration, because they had a solid water line. That could happen to us coming from here to Aurora or from here to
Explain to me how that would happen from here to Aurora. Now, keep in mind, I worked for several years in western North Carolina, so I'm pretty familiar. I've been involved in floods. I've pumped out mines from floods. Johnstown floods I've been involved with. I've been to York, Pennsylvania, whenever mattress in town was laying out to dry because of the Johnstown floods. So explain to me how we could possibly lose our water system short of the earth splitting open.
I think we may be missing the point on the intent of these contracts. These contracts are to address the what ifs and to say that Beaufort County, because we're not a populated city or county, that we're not exposed to the risk of storm damage is just not accurate. Now, these contracts, the purpose of these is to have a feather in our hat so that if it all hits the fan and we are not getting the resources we need from FEMA or the state, we have something to quickly go to and don't have to go through that in the moment. When it comes to things like potable water, do we have a robust water system? Absolutely. We also have an aged water system. And to say that something couldn't happen to our potable delivery throughout our county, I think we're missing the vulnerability of that. When it comes to sanitation services, we've been lucky with storms that we've had our infrastructure returned in a timely fashion. But our past experience does not mean that's always going to be the case, and we saw that with Helene. So when it comes to things like the ability to provide filtered drinking water to our rural areas, that could be a big issue. When it comes to the ability to provide showers and just hand washing stations to our rural communities after several days of not having that, that could be a potential issue that we face. What we're asking is to allow us to put these contracts in place so that if FEMA cannot deliver or if the state cannot deliver, like in the case that happened in the western part of the state, we're not left floundering. That's the purpose of these contracts.
But most people in our sparsely populated county are pretty independent, and most people have all sorts of backups. I go back to this water system. So what if you lost a well? Or what if you lost a south side treatment plant? It's connected to the north side. You know, unless the earth split open, in which case that is a force majeure black swan event, that the whole world would be upside down. You're not going to have a water system failure that the people of the county can't be provided with potable water. And even if you did, let's assume that all the power lines were knocked out in eastern North Carolina. We've got generators on these wells to produce water. The risk here, you got to look at this from the standpoint of cost versus the risk of what could happen to you. And the risk is very low. We're spending the county money for this. I don't think we should be doing. And in the case of sanitation, if you were in New York City where you had millions of people, porta-johns are a great idea if everything goes out and you can't keep running it. But most sewer systems run on gravity, which means the sewage is going to go somewhere regardless. And most of the time during these storms, we all know that it goes out in the river. All up and down every river in the United States, not just Beaufort County. But if we had a large central population area with a dense population, that's a good idea. But in Beaufort County, that's not a good idea. In the infrastructure analysis and repair, again, we've been through so many of these things, and we didn't need that service for any of them. We didn't need it for any of them. Then you've got consulting services for economic recovery. Tell me how you could possibly would mean anything in Beaufort County. If you had half of a city like New York City knocked out, or the center of Charlotte was knocked out, and you had, I don't know, there's 2 million people in that county or something, and you had 1 million people that in a desperate situation, you might need some of those services. But also keep in mind, we got the state of North Carolina with all of their assets and things. I don't mind spending money for the debris management and debris monitoring and the consulting services for how we get our money back from the federal government. But the rest of this stuff in Beaufort County is useless.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Just let me be clear with the board. None of these contracts cost the county any money at all unless they are activated. And this board would be involved in activating those contracts. This simply puts contracts in place that would allow for services that may be needed, may not be needed. Hopefully they would never be needed. But this won't cost the county a dime unless you activate the contract. And it puts it then, you don't have to scramble at the last minute to try to find somebody to help you when everybody else is scrambling trying to find somebody to help them. That's what drives the price up. As they mentioned earlier, what we're trying to do is talk before the disaster occurs. Put something on paper where everybody agrees this is a good price. If we ever need you, we'll contact you and you'll activate the contract. If we don't need you, we don't need you. Thank goodness we don't need you. But the county's not out any money on this to start with. And if you are out any money, you needed to be out some money because we're in trouble.
And I appreciate the exchange and a lot to unpack there. So let's start at the beginning. I do agree that our county residents are very resilient. We are a very independent county and thankful for that. But also keeping in mind that there are a lot of people in the Appalachian Mountains who thought the same thing. And they're still trying to recover. So again, I don't want us to make our plan for the future based on what we've experienced in the past, because the truth is in Beaufort County, we've been lucky in the past. The longest outage that I have experienced in my 7-year tenure was the south side during Florence, and that was the Duke Energy line that was out for 6 days. We're pushing our limits there. When it comes to where we're getting other resources, and you mentioned FEMA and North Carolina EM, and yes, again, our past experience, we have been fortunate to get a lot of resources from both the feds and the state. But all those things are up in the air right now. You've got, on the FEMA level, just the grants and the funding that they provide to your resources so that those resources are available to locals during an emergency. None of that's been announced. None of that's been approved. All of that's under evaluation. So we don't want to go into a hurricane season, and that's still lingering in the shadows. When it comes to NCEM, the state Senate, in their proposed budget, essentially stripped North Carolina Emergency Management of its roles and responsibility during an emergency and placed it on the National Guard. So we don't even know what the future of NCEM looks like. Again, these are contingencies. Will they be our first go-to? Absolutely not. But would we recommend as a county having these in our hat to pull if we need to? And most likely, when we have to pull it, it's going to be under a reimbursement opportunity. That's what we're asking for the ability to have.
Jerry?
Well, Brian took part of what I was about to say, and that's good. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, because basically you're just asking for the opportunity to find numbers for us, and then in turn bring it back to us, and then we decide whether we want to do it or not. But there are a lot of times in life where we think about woulda, shoulda, coulda. And basically what I say that you're doing, you're just making sure that if something like this were to happen, that we would be ready to respond, and we would not have to sit around and wonder who is going to do this and who is going to do that. So I agree with what you want to do wholeheartedly, and if we were voting right now, I would say I would vote for it.
Yeah, our intention is we want to do everything in our ability to make sure Beaufort County does not come up in an after-action report in the same and similar situation as some of our sister and brother counties in the mountains because of their lack of being able to handle the emergency that was before them. Even something as simple as you mentioned, economic recovery. If you remember, following Helene, the biggest pushes that were coming from the towns and the counties was how do we get our businesses back open? When we look at that, what do businesses need to reopen? They need utilities, they need cell connectivity in an age of digital bank transactions. We need to make sure we have a plan that brings all of those things up so that we can get our businesses going. Our communities cannot recover if they're not making money and making a living. And we're asking for the ability to pull some plans together to do that.
Randy, excuse me. Randy?
Help me with this, Sam. I know you know it. If you fail to plan or plan to fail, see, I almost knew it.
That's right.
And I absolutely, I love what you're doing, and I say let's continue on with it. Just get it ready, get everything in a row, and if you need it, it's there. Right. Why not?
Is there? I'll come back. Any other commissioner before I go back to Hood? You good? Okay.
Well, I just want to remind you, while it sounds like I'm an old crumb-drudging here, it's only been during the last 20 years the concept of socialized, we're going to look after all of you every way that we can, has come to the forefront. Up till then, the world was a lot different. A lot of people looked after themselves. And what you guys have fallen into is the socialistic concept that Big Brother is going to look after us somehow. We're going to take taxpayers' money and do all these wonderful things for people. It's a socialistic concept, and it means that people don't have to look after themselves.
Mr. Chairman, just real quick, and Chris will tell you, we have never changed our position. It used to be that we told people, be aware and be on your own, be able to self-survive for 3 days before we can get to you. Be able to do that. That has now been changed to 5 days, has it not? So what we're pushing out to folks is survive on your own for 5 days, because we might not be able to get to you within that time period. So we do expect people to look after themselves, and we need more people to be able to look after themselves. But when they can't, that's where EM comes in.
Right, and these things that we're asking for, these aren't contracts where that would allow us to do something for you. These are contracts that allow us to give resources for people who want to help themselves. So that's the way we view that, and I'll just leave it there.
If you sit in on any of the discussions at the national level or at the state level as it relates to the associations of county commissioners, and you listen to what's happening all across the country, everybody is getting reimbursed later and later and later. And the push is that, it starts at the local level, that we have to be responsible. So, to me, we're just planning, if we need additional help, that we've already got a contractor that we can pull the trigger on.
That's correct.
And we have to pull the trigger.
I mean, it's not automatic.
This would be kind of a plan C in our response matrix, right? We would try to do the things that our past, we have been successful in. But if we fall short, we need some contingency plans. We learned that from Helene. We learned that from watching the county struggle with Helene. And we don't want to be in that same position. We don't want our people to be in that same position.
Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay. To approve them moving forward with the RFPs. Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, you want to go to your next item, which is a community development block grant.
Yes, sir. Beaufort County Emergency Services are requesting approval to participate in the application process for a community development block grant, which addresses critical community needs that benefit low to moderate income residents, including reconstruction, elevation, or rehabilitation of homes. Additionally, the CDBG funding can be used for economic development projects that brings resources and long-term investments to Beaufort County, also supporting a stronger local economy. Unfortunately, the extensive nature of the CDBG application process has limited our county's participation in the past. However, CDBG has proven to be a gateway program for additional grants in other counties and municipalities throughout the state. Many of these successful awardees have utilized contracted firms to complete the application process. Craven, Jones, Nash, Siler City, Eatonton, Duplin County, Windsor, Roanoke, Rapids, and many more have successfully secured application approvals with the CDBG and its reciprocal funding programs utilizing Insight Planning and Development. Insight's proven track record of success with the CDBG applications in neighboring counties make them a strong and reliable partner for this initiative. To initiate the application process, the county will utilize $12,000 of our currently budgeted professional services - administrative funds to cover the preliminary work and application development. As a part of the grant process, a public hearing is required to gather citizens' input, and our office requests authorization to publish a public notice of hearing to be held June 2nd, 2025 at the next Board Commissioners meeting. Office of Emergency Services respectfully requests your approval to participate in the CDBG application process using Insight Planning and Development.
Okay. Entertain a motion to.
Let me make a comment before you do that.
Okay.
You know, what these programs are about, and let me qualify myself, I provide services in a lot of counties that go along with these CDBG programs and rehabilitation programs and all of these sorts of things. And what I see going on is people sit in a house for 30 years and never pick up a paintbrush, never have the roof repaired, never do anything to keep it going. And then all of a sudden, the government shows up. They get a new house. But they haven't done anything to protect their property. So, I'm not going to support this because I decided, even though I still do this business and I still make money doing it, it's a bad program.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve, a second.
Second.
All right.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
Who been doing these grants for you?
Yes, the CDBG.
Yeah, CDBG. Yeah.
So this will be the first one we've done. It would be with Insight.
Well, who been doing it in the past? This is the first. That's not.
So the Mideast did it in the economical development, such as big businesses such as Ribeyes, and you can look on their website and they'll show everything it was. Our thing is to stick to our low to moderate income residents. But in this, you also can use this grant as an economic development at the same time, which could bring $5 million to the county.
I'm going to still vote for it, but I wanted to hear you say that, but I knew it was Mideast. Most time when I ask you a question, I know the answer.
So you also know this is a program that we have not participated in a number of years. And the reason why is the application process is so extensive.
Well, this is a good, this is a good program. But I just wanted to put it out there and see what you tell me. Because Insight, a while back, we had some questions about Insight.
That's correct.
Yes.
And when we're looking at Insight, it's their proven track record on securing funds.
I don't have a problem.
Any other comment? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you. Approval of the term contract for mass notification.
Yes, sir. This is approval for a term of contract for a mass notification HQE systems. We're requesting approval for the mass notification. We're moving from HyperReach to HQE. HQE is a fully IPAL certified platform that mirrors all the same functions currently in use. These include automated weather alerts from the National Weather Service, emergency notifications, and critical messaging capabilities used by Public Works. The proposed switch to HQE offers significant cost savings of 57% over the current provider. HyperReach is approximately $13,000 annually, where HQE offers the same capabilities at $5,391.77 annually. These are a very critical component of public safety, allowing for timely dissemination of life-saving information during severe weather, hazmat incidents, evacuations, and other events. IPALS is vital for ensuring the county's ability to issue wireless emergency alerts and emergency alert system. The contract proposed is a 2-year agreement with locked pricing, followed by 3 additional years at a 5% annual increase. $2,700 of the first year of this contract is funded through our Tier 2 Hazard Materials Grant Program from the state of North Carolina. The Office of Emergency Services respectfully requests your approval to move forward with HQE Systems Mass Notification System and enter a new contract.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other questions of DC?
I think I paid that $2,700 myself, or my company did.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
You gonna do the?
Me and Jeff got the last one, and I do this, again, being very transparent. The last 2 items for the HQE contract and the CDBG contract, the contracts not being attached to your agenda, that is my mistake. That's my oversight. So we're in the process now of working with the county attorney to have those reviewed to make sure everything's compliant. I just wanted to let you know we're not trying to slip anything in. That was my fault for not attaching those to the agenda items. So we'll have those back before you for those signatures. All right. The last thing we have is an opportunity to purchase an EMS unit at a much lower price than what our normal process would lead us to. So during our budget works for the coming year, we are on track to replace a 2018 ambulance that's got about 215,000 miles on it. In talking with vendors, we repeatedly come back to a couple of things that we have shared with you all before. One's an extended time frame of delivery. If we were to place that order for a new truck today, most of these vendors are saying 24 months at best, 36 months most likely for getting a unit here in place. And those prices right now are coming in somewhere around $530,000. So as we shared in the budget workshops, we have been looking at these vendors to see if anything else were to come up available. So we know they have demo units that they use for show purposes. We're being told by at least one vendor that they have some that will be available in September for a much reduced price, around $320,000. What we're asking for your permission is to pursue purchasing one of those demo units and capitalizing on that cost savings as well as the reduction in delivery time for us to put that unit in service. And we're working with the county attorney and the School of Government on how we navigate the procurement process to purchase that demo. That's one of the things where the procurement processes works great in providing the checks and balances and making sure that we as government and municipalities are spending public money appropriately. What it does not do is allow government entities to take advantage of cost savings like this. So in the demo world, they're very specific it's tough to navigate that purchase through a procurement piece. So in talking with the School of Government, there's two recommendations that they gave. One would be issuing a state of an emergency or emergency declaration due to supply chain disruptions. The other would be putting out a bid spec for solicitation for demo trucks. And in consultation with the county attorney, that seems to be the most appropriate fit for us. So what we're before you today is asking for your permission to proceed with a demo spec to try to see what vendors have those trucks available and allow us to capitalize on the cost savings as well as a time of reduction. And I have Jeff here who can answer any questions about the deployment of the truck or where our current units are as well.
So this is going to have the stretcher unit and everything in it, just like what we currently got. We're not looking at anything that we're going to have to manipulate, change out later on down the road.
Yeah, so the vendor that we have confirmed that will have demos available in September for $322,000. They will have the new 2025 ambulance that they have used for shows over the season. They will stripe it to match our Beaufort County decals consistent with our other trucks.
Please paint the thing a bright red. This is the ugliest red that I have ever seen that the city is using. It is a depressing red and a depressing gray.
So ours are going to remain white unless you as the board tell us otherwise. Ours are going to be white with our gray and gold striping. But it will come with our paint and decal scheme, and it will come with, is it the $60,000? A $60,000 lift system and stretcher that partners with it. So the only thing that we can account for from that particular example that is not coming with the trucks is the Viper radios and the VHF radios that we would need inside. And that's just from one of our vendors. We're not sure what.
You'll switch those out anyhow.
Actually, we won't, because, again, when we take trucks from a front line, we try our best to keep it as a reserve because that is where we are weak. We do not have reserve units. So when we have oil changes and we have gear strikes and we have mechanical failures, right now we have one reserve. So our goal is to, even though this is a high mileage unit, to try to still squeak some life out of it in a reserve status where we're not running it as a front line every day. Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we got a motion to move forward with the purchase, and we also have a second. Does anyone else have any questions of Jeff or Chris?
You are going to check the front end out. Be sure you get a heavy-duty front end. Don't get that cheap stuff that they sell you.
You knew you were not going to get out of here without that question, right? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we're down to the manager's items, and the first one is the resolution on the opposing the toll on the Bayview Aurora Ferry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. On page 286, you got the agenda item, and as you recall, the Senate started the budget process this year. Last biennium, the House started it. Well, in the Senate Budget Bill 257, which was the Appropriations Act, they included in that language tolling all ferries and increasing the tolls on existing ferries. It is exactly similar, well, not exactly, but it is very similar to what the House did when they took the lead last biennium. So you have before you a resolution opposing the tolls on ferry operations in the Bayview Aurora ferry route. So they would, under this proposal from the Senate, and of course, as y'all know, the Senate starts their piece, the House does theirs, they go to conference, they hash it all out, and then they finally come out with a final budget bill. Representative Kidwell has told us that he is opposing it as heavily as he can. Senator Brinson attempted to do something on the Senate side before it got across, and it was tabled. So our legislative delegation is working hard to try to get rid of that, but it is a negotiation tactic between the House and the Senate on how they do that. So this is a resolution, and we took the last resolution you did back when the House started it and just changed the dates and changed the titles. So this opposes, from the county's perspective, specifically the Bayview Aurora ferry site, adding tolls to that and adding additional tolls on other sites. Also included in the agenda is a joint resolution, and I've given you an updated joint resolution. So you have a new one on your on your table. And the reason you have a new one on your table is that as we were working through this with the coastal counties, Brunswick County decided they did not want to be a part of this resolution, and they stated that they would not take any action regarding it. But Jones County, not a coastal county, but Jones County said they wanted to be a part of it, that they opposed it. So you have a new resolution, a joint resolution from Beaufort County, Carteret County, Craven County, Currituck, Dare, Hyde, Jones, and Pamlico County opposing new tolls and increases on existing tolls on North Carolina ferry routes. So we'd like, we'll answer any questions you may have, but would recommend your approval on both of those resolutions.
Okay, we got a motion to approve both of these resolutions. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. The next item, Brian, is a 25 through 2030 child support professional services contract.
Yes, sir. So you have in your booklet, this is the proposed 25 to 2030 professional services contract with Young Williams for child support services. This is a renewal of the existing contract we have with them. It's an additional 5 years. We've been pleased with their services. They do a good job. The contract has been reviewed by the county attorney, and we'd recommend your approval.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, and then I have something to discuss after we vote. It's a separate issue.
Okay, so after the vote, you...
Yeah, after the vote,
Okay.
yes.
Anybody have any comments before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of the 5-year contract with child support professional services, raise your right hand. Okay, good.
Okay, I was left out of this process. I am, up till now, I've been the designated Title IV representative for Beaufort County. I didn't know about this until it came up tonight, so what I'd like for this board to do is to relieve me of my useless position as the Title IV representative. That's a motion.
Okay. Any discussion?
Well, I mean, I'm ignored, so, when you want to be in there and having somebody come back later on and tell you you didn't do something or you did something wrong, get me off this hot seat.
Okay.
Yeah, is there any reason why Hood is ignored from this process? Just curious.
Well, I know the reason, but I won't say it here.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right. Now we're down to the next item, the lease agreement for probation and parole second district.
Yes, this is the second judicial district manager's office space. It is a 3-year term and is the renewal of a prior lease that we have with them. With the state, the location is at 1308 Highland Drive, and it's a 5% increase from the prior term. So this is the state of North Carolina leasing from the county and paying us for the use of 655 square feet in the judicial district manager's office. We are allowed to charge for that lease. The other 2 leases you're getting ready to have in front of you, we are not allowed to charge for because you're required by the state to provide that office space for probation and parole. But you can charge for this one, and this is the new updated lease. It's a 3-year lease, which is a standard lease, and it will pay the county $9,587.24 per year on the lease agreement. We recommend your approval. It's been reviewed by the county attorney.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve the lease. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, the next one is lease agreements for probation and parole office space, which is a different location, right?
Actually, there are 2 leases attached to this one. The first lease is for 1308 Highland Drive at it's the same location for probation and parole. The judicial services manager's office is in that same building. This is for 4,600, plus or minus 4,600 square feet. You are required to provide this space for probation and parole. And then also there's a lease for 112 West 2nd Street, which is the courthouse. There are 2 offices in the courthouse that are used by probation and parole. And this is a new lease for us. Although they have been using them all these years, we just never had a lease agreement on it. So this is cleaning up some work there. So these 2 lease agreements are no-fee lease agreements that you are required to provide by statute to the state of North Carolina. County attorneys review both of them, and we'd recommend your approval.
Entertain the motion to approve the second lease.
So moved.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. We're down to the parking for aviation workforce training.
Yes, sir. So Dr. Stacy Gerard, who's the Vice President for Continuing Education at the Community College, has requested that the county allow them to use probably a small portion of county property for a parking lot that they need to put in for the Aviation Workforce Training Center. That parking area you can see on page 374, they've drawn it out, is on our side, a little bit on our side of the line, so it will more than likely infringe upon county property. The community college will be responsible for all installation and any maintenance costs associated with it. So we're seeking your approval to move forward with that and to work with the county attorney to draft a use agreement between the county and the community college on that parking area.
How long is the lease?
It would probably be a year to year that would continue to revolve. However, the county attorney, you can't have anything perpetual, but we would probably have it set up for as long as they were using that as the aviation workforce site. And they may eventually do something different, so,
The county's not using that at all now.
We are not, no, sir.
Okay.
So moved.
Got a motion? Is there a motion and a second? Anybody have another comment or question? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. The next one is the request by the Washington Daily News.
Yes, sir. So actually, Dan Zant, the president and publisher of the Washington Daily News, is here tonight if you have any questions for him. But they'd like for the board to consider allowing them to locate their crab art statue on county property at the corner of 3rd Street and North Market Street. So you've got in your booklet on page 376 a picture of the crab, the Washington Daily News crab, and you've got 2 photos of where that they're asking that they be allowed to place that crab. Page 377, you see the corner and then the aerial on 378. If the board is so inclined to allow that, we would request the ability to work with the county attorney to develop a use agreement between the county and the Daily News to do that.
Yes.
Mr. Manager, is that the same piece of property that the Garden Club used?
Yeah.
It was, yes, sir, and they haven't done that recently. They stopped.
I know it was out there last summer. I know it was there last summer.
Yeah, they sporadically use that.
Yes.
They don't use it regularly, but, if Ashley's willing to take on the Women's Garden Club, I mean,
Okay.
So there may be an opportunity, like I say, I know that our maintenance staff said to me last year that because we actually had to go out there and do some work on it because they had not done any work on it. And if there's still a desire by them, then maybe there's an opportunity to work at that site to make it look even prettier with that statue sitting there.
It looks like somebody came by there in the last 24 hours and used a weed eater and put up a banner. Is that? Okay, but the Garden Club has got a banner there. They're advertising tickets for something. But anyway.
herb sale, spring herb sale.
Okay, all those in favor of moving forward.
Need a motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Well, I thought that's where I was headed.
Oh, okay.
Well, I just want to make sure that we don't offend the Women's Garden Club in what we're doing. I don't mind him doing it. I don't have a bit of problem with this whole thing. I just don't want to be having to referee something later on.
That's all right.
My motion stands.
Yeah, we got a motion that stands. We got people that can take care of the
But we've got
garden club.
the issue's in the minutes, so that's fine, as long as the issue is in the minutes. I don't have a problem with it.
All right, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and a second. Anybody else have a comment? All right, all those in favor of the moving forward with the request, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Good job on the craft.
Speaking of that,
What a segue.
Richard, we're ahead of schedule, so if you will come on up here, we'll do it, and then we'll take a break and allow you to, we got a motion that Richard Newman, who is the owner of the County Road Seafood in Belhaven, wants to present, and I told him he did. I told him that he did not have to read the resolution, but he could comment as it related to what the Marine Resources group was trying to do.
Our Division of Marine Fisheries has come in and without any science, their most recent stock assessments failed their peer review and are proposing some very drastic rules to our blue crab fishery. And they would pretty well shut that industry down with the rules that they're proposing. And I'm here as the owner of County Road Seafood and the president of the North Carolina Blue Crab Association, just to ask y'all to pass a resolution opposing this rule. As I said, they have no science to back up this rule. I believe we have gotten Hyde, Carroll, Dare, and Washington County to pass similar resolutions already. The town of Belhaven has passed one recently. And I'll do my best to answer any questions y'all may have.
I have one question.
Yes, good.
I have one question. I read this stuff, the 20 bushels and the 10 bushels and all this they refer to, they don't say per day, per month, per year, per season. What is the rate on that?
Okay, the proposal that Marine Fisheries is going to recommend to their commission is a 0 bushel of female crabs from January to May. Then again, and I don't remember the exact date, but it's either August, September to the end of the season, they're proposing a 10 bushel limit on female crabs per day. And in between, they're allowing whatever you can catch. The fishermen depend on female crabs in the spring and the fall, and that's where they're cutting them from.
And you're talking about soft shell crabs?
No, right this second, they're not proposing any regulations on soft shells.
Okay. Any other questions of Richard? If not, entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Got a motion and a second. Any other questions for Richard? All right. All those in favor of the resolution, raise your right hand. Thank you. Thank you very much, Richard. Okay, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. The next item is the Chakawinity Industrial Park hood.
Well, I put this on here, and then when I saw the minutes, I realized that you guys have voted to do nothing over there. So I guess all I want to say is it's been sitting there since 2006 or something. It hasn't developed because it's on light industrial. When it goes across the computer in Raleigh from the people that are screening the things that are looking at heavy industrial, they see light industrial and they keep going. Until you rezone this thing, you are not, that place is never going to develop. So 2006, 2016, 2026, it's been there 19 years, and this county has been a loser all the way. And we're going to continue to be a loser until we make the property developable.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. I don't think Town of Chakawinity is going to do anything with rezoning the property from light industrial to heavy industrial. I think we're going to have to go and ask our representatives in Raleigh to help us with this, because And it may be that larger government may need to prevail upon, over the smaller government to do what's right for the county. So you guys might want to think about talking to our representatives and see if we can get some help in Raleigh so that we can get this rezoned, or just kill the zoning. It's never been, it never should.
Well, it took a special bill for them to have the authority to do it to begin with. That special bill can be repealed.
It can be repealed. We can kill that zoning.
Okay, anyone else with a comment on it? All right, we're down to the next item, discussion of Chairman Waters' ethics. Good?
Yeah, well, what my point on this is that chairmen of boards have a different responsibility than a member of the board who has some responsibility anyway. And I take great issue with the article that came out in the Washington Daily News talking about Board of County Commissioners and shutting down 3 schools and building another consolidated school, which we know these consolidated things are total failures, and on the south side of the river. Never having been presented the idea to the public, never having presented the idea to the Board of Commissioners, and when you get up there, Frankie, and start saying, you're chairman of the Board of Commissioners, and we should do this and we should do that, you're speaking for me. And I want the public to know you do not speak for me unless the issue has been brought to this board, discussed by this board, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then you're expected to be truthful about it. So the ethics of this thing, I don't think you understand what your responsibility as chairman is, because you've been doing backroom deals ever since you've been here. You've been caught in the last year or two with the building of this new school. It's unethical, Frankie. Another word for unethical is dishonest.
Well, I'm not going to debate you again. I think you know where I stand. The only thing I'll tell you is that when Holly called me and she asked for comments, I told her several times that this was my personal view. Never once did I say this, as chairman of the board, this is where we're headed. Never once. And if you look at the article, I think that's broad act. I mean, I take issue when somebody says that I can't take a phone call without and talk to somebody without calling and having or waiting. No, I got to wait until the board meets, or somebody calls me and wants to do an interview. You seem to do whatever you want to. You went down and had some things to say that I didn't like in Aurora. I mean, you or Stan or Tandy said that the commissioners had more money. The commissioners had more money to keep the school open.
That's true, we do.
That may be true. That may be true, but it's not been voted on.
No, it hasn't.
It's not been voted on.
The commissioners could do something about this. We never said the commissioners would do something about this. We said they could.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you got anything else you want to say on it?
No.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, when we were down in Aurora, we spoke in hypothetical terms about whether that building should remain open in its fantastic condition. Those people need to keep their town center alive, and for a lot of folks that live down there, a lot of people that have resided down there for a long time, people in the area, they feel that that's their school building. We know that schools are poorly run. We've seen that over the years. We know that it would cost almost nothing to keep that school building open.
Well, now we have an item.
Let me please finish talking. We have not heard anything from anybody from schools that have suggested that the school building is costing them too much money to keep it going. I mean, we start factoring in the gas and the time it's going to take to move children up and down the highway, and there's no way possible that it's going to be an item that is irredeemable for the schools to keep that school building open. Now, I do have a question. Why did Holly, who works for the Washington Daily News, think that you wanted to build a school building on the south side of the river? How did she ever get that idea? Did you ask her that?
She asked for comments, and that was one of my comments.
Who made that comment to begin with that should be done?
It was me. You're looking at it. I threw that out there.
Oh, you threw it out there? Okay.
Yeah.
So you did throw it out there?
I have never denied that.
Okay.
I've never denied that.
So could would be a would. mostly, wouldn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, we would do that or could do that. I mean, would is more substantial of a comment than could.
Oh, anyway, you got anything else you want to, huh? Are you done? Okay. Anyone else? Any other commissioner?
Just be sure and disqualify me when you're speaking for the board and the issue hadn't come before the board. You're welcome to say, but Hood hasn't been consulted about this yet. But I'm speaking for the rest of the board members.
Well, the reason I didn't consult you, the reason I didn't consult you because I know what your opinion is.
No,
I know what
Frankie,
your
you missed the
opinion
whole
is.
point. That's a smart-ass remark. You missed my whole point.
Okay, you wanted to talk about the report from the sheriff's office on ICE activity?
Well, I just want to ask the sheriff, he's here, if you referred anybody to ICE last month.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board, for inviting me to be here tonight. I'm Sheriff Hammonds, Beaufort County Sheriff. It's been a busy week. We've been dealing with a lot of criminal activity and also dealing with doing research about what ICE within our jails, and we've not had any additional request or any additional detainer or any intent to send us a detainer.
But the question is, have you, on your own initiative, evaluated anybody and sent the information to ICE?
Well, every inmate that comes in with a felony or a DWI, we bring them in and process them in based on our policy and procedure, which a standard operating would be a fingerprinting, APHIS, doing that's a screening, and that request automatically goes up in a database, and then ICE would be one of the administrations that would check to see if that person were in our jail. And then if they were to call us inquiring, we would answer the question, yes, that they're either in our custody or not.
Okay, that answers my question.
But any other questions? But just we've had a busy week, and I want to tell you that our request to the county commissioner, the overdoses and the overdoses death is creeping, and we want to make sure we have the support of everyone in Beaufort County. If you have knowledge of a distributor or a trafficker of this poison called fentanyl, please call the sheriff's office or report it on a P3 tips. I need your help. That's for all the Beaufort County residents. It takes our residents and our sheriff's proactive enforcement to get this out of Beaufort County. I had a meeting with the Attorney General and many sheriffs and police chiefs on Wednesday. And our agreement was to stand shoulder to shoulder in agreement with one another and come together, because all our counties border. And we're working very hard to get this problem in some kind of control. But until we can get the U.S. mail and the border and all these other issues, we need our help to come from locals and report it. So, again, thank you.
I got one thing to say. Okay. Sheriff, I really appreciate the work you're doing, interdicting drugs and keeping these deadly narcotics off our street. It is the devil's work. I'm convinced of that. But I think with the border virtually being closed on the south of us now, instead of being wide open as it was for the last 4 years, I think a lot of the fentanyl that's in our country right now came across, and now it's being distributed. It's probably been laying fallow, and now it's being awakened and given to people that it's going to kill a lot of people. But hopefully that lag from the border being closed, on at least on the southern border, and they're trying to do better on the north as well. And again, you say the U.S. mail's got to do a better job. Eventually, I think it'll get shut down, hopefully.
And not and fentanyl, but not just fentanyl, but meth is coming back pretty strong. Meth is getting to be a serious problem again for us. So.
It's the devil at work, that's for sure. So thank you for your job.
Thank you. I'm honored to do the work of the sheriff, and I continue to work hard every day to make sure I'm here for a long time.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Sheriff Hammonds. Okay, the next item is the Washington Elementary School construction project. Hood?
Well, you know, all the Beaufort County Commissioners have voted to do, we have a fiduciary responsibility for the money that comes through us, this $50 million that's going into this school. And I was thinking about the last school building round that we had, and after it was over with, 3 or 4 years after it was over with, we had to go back and spend money on a lot of these schools. We had things that we had to install, even though for that construction thing, supposedly the schools had hired our own county inspector, our own school inspector, to look after the county's interest. Well, those guys didn't do that great of a job, frankly, because we went back and paid for this, some of this stuff, construction and improvements to be made to the schools that were left off of the plans. So that brought me around to who is inspecting the schools. On a large building project like this, normally the city building inspector, since they're in the city's jurisdiction, has jurisdiction over the project. But normally what he will tell the owner, because it's a complex project and it's a big project and he can't be there every minute, every day to see everything that's going on, is he will tell the owner to hire a supervising person, normally an engineer, to observe the construction, or somebody that he approves of. I think he can still approve somebody, to observe the construction, and when the building is built, the certificate of occupancy is not issued until that person who's charged with doing that inspection signs off on it. The example is, I was the engineer on the new hotel that was built out here beside of the fire department. Right. And because the building inspector was there, but he was not there all the time, but he was enough to say that he was doing his job. Because obviously a large construction project like a $52 million project, he'd have to spend all of his time out there on that project. We wouldn't be able to do the house construction, the improvements, and all the other things that go on. So that's why this is done, and it's set up and it works. So my question became, who is doing that? And so I sent an email with these questions that are on here to the clerk and asked her to forward it to the superintendent of schools, and he came back with some answers, but he didn't give wholesome answers on everything because a geotechnical consulting firm has been contracted to do the testing on concrete, the testing, on welding, the testing on some other things, and to observe some things. But nowhere in that contract does it say that they are the responsible person to the building inspector for the sign-off on the occupancy permit for the school. So I didn't get a good answer on that, and that contract is around $150,000, $160,000. So I called the city building inspector this morning, and he didn't call me back. So if I have to, he's only 100 feet away, so I'll be over there right in front of him asking him the question, who's doing this? So I asked if there were any notice change orders, which means we're thinking about giving you a change order, or actual change orders, and in his reply, he said there were none to date. So this is something that we as commissioners need to keep our eye on in order that we do our fiduciary responsibility for that $52 million, which we have done a magnificent job, this board has, of avoiding our responsibility. Noticed, and the other thing is, who is the owner's designated representative. So I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to bring it back to you because these are important issues that since I didn't get clear answers on, I'm not sure the superintendent understood the question or understood what's going on here because he's never built a school before. That was what I had on this particular item.
Okay, the next item is S.W. Snowden Elementary discussion, and that's also yours, Hood.
Okay, at the same time, I asked the superintendent to give us the difference in cost between shutting the Snowden school down and keeping it open, because this is what was discussed at Aurora, and the commissioners do have the ability to provide the money to keep that school open. And I didn't get a really good answer. What he gave was the answer of about, I got the exact number here somewhere, but he gave the answer. He added up every expense that he could find. It came up with the difference is $1.7 million. That is totally not so, because he's put into here $1.4 million for 22 positions and benefits. Those are provided by the state for the most part. So that's not a difference in cost. A sign-on bonus is $26,000. That's not a difference in cost, because you're going to pay that anyway, because if you have the students, the state's going to, that money from the state in essence goes with the student. So that's not a difference in cost. Some other things in here like contracted instructional services, $30,000. There's something in here to a taxi company. I don't know what that's for. They're actually buying $900 worth of library books. But see, you're going to buy those library books whether those students are in Aurora or whether they're in Chocowinity. So that's not a difference in cost. So we have a very incomplete answer here. And my request to this board tonight is that this board vote to ask the superintendent to provide us with the difference in cost between shutting down the Aurora schools and the Aurora school and moving those students to Chocowinity. Now, when you ask for the difference in cost, you have to consider some other things in doing that. It's 25 miles from Aurora to Chocowinity. So you're going to be hauling 100 students twice a day from Aurora to Chocowinity. It's going to take at least 3 buses. So what's the additional cost for transportation to haul those students from Aurora to Chocowinity? And he started off, and we found out that that wasn't what the law says, was saying that the savings was going to be that the state would pay for only part of a principal. And then we found out that if the school was in existence according to a general statute before 2011, I think it was, that that rule did not apply on small schools like this. And there's some other things there, like why do you need an assistant principal when you have 100 students? And the answer is you probably don't. So coming up with a reasonable value of what it will cost to shut this school down includes any additional cost in keeping the school open, like the payment of personnel or anything that the state is not going to pay for. We're talking about what is known in the trade as delta, the difference in cost. And we haven't gotten that from him, but you would take whatever the savings is from shutting the Aurora school down within the school system, and you would have to offset that with the additional cost for buses and fuel and transportation. And then you have to look at the impact of putting 97 more students into the Chocowinity schools. How is that going to impact those schools? Are you going to be back in here asking us for a rental unit, for a modular unit because you've run out of space in the school? None of that evaluation has been done. So I'll go back to my motion and say that we need to request so that we consider as a part of our budget for the schools this year the difference in cost between keeping the Aurora schools open, which includes the operating cost of the school difference, the cost of the additional transportation, and the cost of the additional impact on the Chocowinity schools. We need that as a report from the school system, and that's a motion.
Second that motion.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, I would like to say one thing. I think when you start using numbers, moving them around, playing with them, I think you can justify the closing of any school. Just like you can justify the building of a mega school at the lowest point of the lot for $383 per square foot. I mean, you can justify anything when you start throwing numbers around, call it free money, say we're saving money, look what we're doing for the taxpayers. What you've got is the lives of these children being on that road. That's dangerous. Going up and down that road, that's many hours of their lives spent riding around where they could be used more productively. How are parents going to be able to get to PTO meetings all the way up into Chocowinity? That's a long drive. I mean, if there's a problem between, for that child, if the parent needs to come up and talk to the principal or whomever, that's a long drive up. and we got a perfectly good school building worth millions and millions of dollars. And if it's only going to cost reasonably, I mean, if you look at this from a constructive sense, a few $100,000, I mean slim hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep that school open, you keep it open, because they're going to do something crazy, like what you thought was a great idea, was build a school in between Chocowinity and Aurora. We don't have the money for that. The state's not going to give us any more money. We've already spent the money we were going to get from a long time from the lottery. We won't get any more money in our lifetimes.
Right, you're wrong.
You're wrong? You got a Blackman deal going right now?
You're wrong.
That's wrong. Okay, so we got that going on right now. Okay, well, tell us how that turns out, okay, at some point, please do.
Well, in that same session, the question was asked, can you go back for a second grant? And the answer was yes. And it's based here again on the priority. It's a point system. And so you could go back and, some schools don't get it the second one on the first try. It might be the second try. So that is available. Now, I can't tell you whether it would take 2 years or 3 years or 10 years, but that is available to go back through. I don't know whether you saw this number, it was in the package, but the projected budget for that school is $2,615,000. If you divide it by 119 students, and this is just so the public understands where the numbers, is that's $21,980 per student. This is what the projected cost is based on last year's attendance. So,
well, one of the problems with that, Mr. Chairman, is this guy hasn't showed me that he knows anything about keeping books yet. I'm going to want, before it's over with, to see something that an auditor has been over that can be verified, because I don't believe him. Because when I asked for the difference in cost, he gave me the whole cost. He didn't know enough about bookkeeping to know the difference between the whole cost. And then he did not include the impacts on the Chocowinity schools, nor the cost of transportation. There's funny money here. So we need to make this request, and then we can look at what we get. And if we need to hire an auditor or somebody that knows what they're doing to go over these numbers, then we need to do that. We owe that to the people of Aurora, and we also owe it to the rest of the taxpayers in Beaufort County. Because I've dealt with school boards now for 28 years, and I've never gotten the truth out of them. Never heard that, that's big words, never gotten the truth out of them.
And this is another bit of information for the whole public, because sometimes we forget the past. The elementary school that I attended in Pinetown, anybody want to guess how many students it had when it got closed? 147. Aurora's down to 119. You talk about distance, go to the Washington County line on Long Ridge Road and drive to Bath. I mean, we did that before, and they learned to live, and now all of a sudden everybody's trying to say, I wish everybody had been around when Pinetown Elementary was closed.
Let me respond to that.
Well, you've been on the board 28 years, so you were not involved.
No, I want to respond to what you just said.
Okay.
And what we have learned is closing these schools was really bad ideas. We should have been pushing neighborhood schools rather than these large schools that we have administrators and people in them that come to work and they get paid whether the children learn anything or not. We've turned the school system over to mass education, which is not working. And we have, and Aurora is a different situation than Pinetown, although I agree I think Pinetown should be kept open in retrospect. But at that time, what the public was being fed was the California-Chicago story, which was consolidated schools are great things. Your children are going to get a better education in this really big school with all these people running around and nobody knowing what's going on, that manufactured education is the way to go. And what we have found out is that small neighborhood schools are a lot more effective than these schools for manufactured teaching. So education is getting ready to go through a real turmoil, I hope, in the next 10 years because it is desperately needed. I use the product of this education system, and I asked people who work for me, remember in school when you had this in your education? Remember that? None of them ever heard of the things that they need to be hearing of. And I'm an engineer. I know as much math as anybody. And what they're teaching for math in schools is they're teaching children to be illogical in their process. They're teaching them to memorize some mumbo jumbo, not to use common logic to solve math problems. And it's because they do not want educated people coming out of the school system to be able to think for themselves, to be able to solve problems, and to know a big lie when they see it. So we've got serious problems with education. And what we've done in the past has not worked. Closing the Pinetown School was a bad idea. And we don't want to see the same thing happen in Aurora. Aurora is kind of a special situation from the standpoint that it is so far from everybody, and it is in a dying town. And what the school system is told, and the county has allowed this to be told for the last 20 years that I know of, oh, this school's going to close eventually. And it's just like some of the people at Aurora got up and said during the meeting down there of, you're doing a bad thing when you do that. Because when people hear that the school is going to be closed, they want their child to be in a school, that it can be in for several years. So they're not going to put your kid in the Aurora school if it's going to close. One of the signals that needs to be sent in keeping this school open is we're going to keep this school open. And we also need to put our shoulder to the wheel that the people in that community need to form their own PTO, not associated with the school system, because we found out in Beaufort County that doesn't work either. But they need to form their own association to support that school and to do tutoring of those students in that school. And I guarantee you the grades and the testing scores will come up once the students are tutored and get some of the attention that they need to help themselves to actually learn things. So the school in Aurora, when you look at a map, what was that somebody said somewhere, all you have to do is look at a map and you know why the Aurora school should not be closed. Because you're chopping off a whole end of Beaufort County that would merge with Pamlico County if it could. I mean, I was down there at Texas Gulf back in the 80s, and people then would have merged with Pamlico County if they could have, and things were a lot more prosperous then than they are now, simply because the county was not, so to speak, connected. And again, the worst mistake we made is this useless bypass that's out here on the west side of town. If it had been put on the east side of town, we probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about the problems we have right now. One bad mistake after another. They've all been made by boards of commissioners because the board of commissioners voted to put Highway 17 where it is. The highway department did not do that. They refused to build it because there was so much controversy over it until the board of commissioners voted. And the board of commissioners voted to build it where it is. It is the commissioner's fault. So we have an opportunity to try to rectify some of our past mistakes by doing the right thing about that part of Beaufort County.
Okay, Katie, do we have a motion? We got a motion? And a second. All right. Do you want to call it back or you want to read it? Okay.
The motion was to ask the superintendent for the difference in cost or cost savings in closing the Aurora, the reasonable value of closing the school, and to request the difference in the cost of keeping Aurora open and cost to bus them and house them in Chocowinity.
Okay. Anybody got a comment or a question? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay, we're down to the last item, which is commissioners' comments. Is any?
Yeah, I want to comment.
Okay.
I want to comment. I want to tell all you four guys that have absolutely no respect for the people of Aurora, for the students and the children of this county, and for the two of you that are sitting on this board with the unethical thing of doing what your wives tell you to do. It's going to be a very interesting election year.
Yes.
And I also want to tell the public and the people in Aurora that we have done all we could to keep those schools open. And this commissioner brags that he had been there 25 years and never voted for a budget. So he hadn't given 1 5 cent to help no school. Thank you.
The truth is not in this bunch.
Hey, wait a minute. Okay. Any other commissioner? Yes, Stan.
Earlier tonight, during the public comment section, there was a lot of discussion about the mega sites, and we were not able to speak back to the public. And so a lot of the information that was floating around was erroneous. A lot of it was summarized on social media. A lot of times I suggest that people should not go to social media for their information because it's usually wrong. The mega sites are being planned right now. It's something that we need in Beaufort County. No, we're not going to close all the smaller convenience sites. Some may get closed. We're not 100% sure which ones are going to get closed. There's a lot of question marks still up in the air. I think we'll benefit in Beaufort County if we understand that commissioners have a duty to do as good a job as is possible in giving the public the very best we can with solid waste, giving them as convenient a place as we can while doing what we can to protect and limit the cost of solid waste while recycling as much as we can. That's very important. I hate to hear the idea that there's going to be more trash on the sides of the highway if one site closes over another one and there's going to be anger amongst the community. I think if we as stewards of this community, as people of Beaufort County who care about how our roadways look and how our woods look, because eventually a lot of that refuge will blow back into the woods, and take care and deal with our own waste as we should, and at a very affordable cost too, which is what the mega sites will do eventually, many years from now, but it will be a cost savings for us. If we need to do something else in this county to save the money, to have the money to pay for this better way of dealing with solid waste, we need to do so. Solid waste is important. It's something we should do. It's something is right for us to do. And I am looking forward to the mega sites being built, but I want them to be built as inexpensively as possible. I want as many viable convenience sites remained open as we can. And I would really love it if the information that is proffered about on social media would be more reasonably accurate. But then again, it is social media, and for that I'm speaking Facebook. And generally people that do report what they know generally do not know very much. So I'm about done here. Thank you.
Well, Chairman Waters, you had a piece of paper that the rest of us don't have. That piece of paper you pulled out that said something about here's some cost that, and I don't have it. I didn't get it with my stuff. I want a copy of it.
It was in the material that was passed out at the meeting in Aurora.
Yep. I got it.
It was an Excel spreadsheet.
But I still want a copy of what you have.
Okay.
That you proffered here to this board tonight.
I've already got another copy, so you pass that down.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, raise your right hand.